do once more for you, okay? Okay. This is near. This is far. And this is near again. Okay? You will see one more time. Oh, sure, I'm not doing anything. Okay.